With 3 quotes, and then invite you to tell me what you think they have in common. One of them is quite old, from Basho to a prospective student. This is in the 17th century, middle of the 17th century. To a prospective student, don't imitate me. It's as boring as the 2 halves of a melon. Just so you know. The next one is someone a little more familiar to us. Robert Frost wrote, he was born in 1875, he died in 1967. But one of his most famous poems is The Road Not Taken. So these are just a few lines. 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. And then this one, I'm going to do it so well that you'll actually know what it's from. Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission: to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before. Thank you very much. You did that beautifully. Yes, these 3 quotes, which barely seem to be connected by anything, have very solid connections, according to James Keller, whose work we're going to talk about a little bit later. Any ideas? The Basho melon quote, don't imitate me. The road less taken quote, the boldly go. Any connection there? Do something original, that's very good. Do something original, right? Don't do what everybody else does.
Think outside the box.
Think outside the box. Take a chance.
If you do what you always did, you'll get what you always got.
Excellent, very good. Everyone heard that? So these authors are all suggesting that we get out there and do stuff. And James Keller, on whose website these quotes all show up, say that they each have something about the basic qualities of human motivation and persistence. And those are going to come up here in a flash. These are what he says are the basic qualities for human motivation and persistence. A desire for adventure, to boldly go. A desire to explore the unknown. If someone is in front of you and they're showing you exactly what they do, and it's not necessarily the unknown, you're seeing it there, so let's explore beyond that. To learn and understand your world, ideas, your feelings, to get to understand that's a basic element of motivation and persistence, and to conquer obstacles to those things. That once you recognize the obstacles are there, that we have a desire to overcome them so that we can get to those things. Now, Keller is talking to teachers, he's talking to educators, he's talking to people who have a whole slew of everything from 4-year-olds to adults learning in situations. And he's trying to get teachers to use these concepts within the classroom, within the moment of engagement, so that the student is engaged. The idea of students, it's not so much that students don't perform, it's that students often don't engage to begin with. So how do we get them to engage? If we can get them to engage, then actually they'll perform a little better. And so Keller came up with a model called the ARCS model, which he shares with teachers and with educators, so that they can grasp the attention of the student, that they can offer something that's really meaningful, that they can relate to, that they can actually give them a sense of being smart enough, good enough, strong enough to actually perform in that and get the results that are wanted, and then to experience, the feeling of goodness that comes when one does actually conquer some of those things. The ARCS model, next slide, has to do with attention, grabbing their attention, often by surprise, engaging them through that surprise. As soon as you do something to a classroom that they're not expecting, And I talked last week about Frank McCourt and the food fight and the sandwich landing on the floor, and Frank McCourt leans down, picks it up, takes a whiff, recognizes it's home-baked bread, that it's got really cool olive oil in it, that it's really not just a bologna sandwich, and eats the thing right in front of the classroom. Got their attention. The surprise gets their attention. Then relevance is, okay, what's in it for me? You know, why would I do this? How is this relevant to my life? How many of you have had conversations with teenagers who are saying, yeah, but it has nothing to do with my life in the classroom? If we can engage them, and the math books that I had when I was in high school were solid equations that you had to figure out. But now they're pictures and stories about, you know, you've got this much fencing and you've got this much space, and what's the best way to arrange it so you get the greatest amount of space inside the fencing. I don't know what was going to be fenced, but, you know, it's stories, it's implications, it's figuring out how something in your life, this might have meaning. I was looking at the parking lot thinking, geez, I wish I'd taken that question in math, because we're going to have to reorganize those parking spaces when we plant trees in the middle of that sinkhole, and we need to be able to come up with the most number of parking spots we possibly can. But I never took that in my grade 12 math class, so I'm going to have to find someone else to help me figure that out. But relevance is an important part. If it's got something to do with the student's life, they'll engage in it almost immediately. Confidence comes from competence. And so giving someone the confidence to do something, maybe giving them some other examples of success, helping them see themselves in that success, giving them the confidence to explore that new territory, because you're going to give them the tools that they need. You're going to be there to support them. You're going to be available if they fail so that you can pick them back up and get them on their way again. They're not going to be alone. And so you give them the confidence to establish the competence that leads to the last one, which is satisfaction. They feel that they've accomplished that. They've managed to integrate that bit of learning into their lives. They've set a new standard for themselves, one that says, yeah, you can do it. And so that whole motivational process happens through that ARCS model that Keller designed and that he often speaks about. Now, I had an email arrive in my email box this week about a program offered by Catherine Woodward Thomas. Catherine Woodward Thomas, at the age of 41, found that although she did couples therapy, she taught and led workshops on relationship, she worked in the field of relationships in a variety of different ways, often traveling to share her wisdom, she was alone. She didn't have somebody in her life. So she sat with that and she thought about it for a considerable length of time, and she came up with a disciplinary process that she was going to put herself through and set the goal 8 months later to be engaged by her 42nd birthday. It's a challenging goal, you know, if you're 41 and there weren't even any prospects on the horizon. But somehow what she did in that process worked. By her 42nd birthday, she was engaged. By her 43rd birthday, she was married. And then she wrote a book about it called Calling the One, I think it's called. 100,000 books sold the first year or two, because everybody is trying to find the one. And she argues that she's had incredible success with the program, sharing her insights and the process of teaching this program to people, that she has innumerable couples who are married, who have kids, who are, you know, changing the world in awesome ways because they finally got together. And she was offering to sell me this program for a small fee, and I could participate over the course of, I think it was 7 weeks, and learn all the secrets of that. But coming from the corner over here was a but, you already have the one. I really can't explain why I read the whole thing, honey. But she had some fairly simple things that I'm going to run through. I'm not sure that this is on the next, no, it's just a quote, don't take that back. Okay, I probably wasn't trying to teach you how to call the one, which is why I didn't put this on the slide, but these are her things. One of the basic elements that she starts with, one of the premises she starts with, is that you create your own experience. I think that's the surprise piece. You create your own experience, because we all think, oh, all this crap is happening around me and I got to respond to it. But if we think about it, the way that we respond to all that stuff is coming out of who we are, coming out of stories from our past, coming out of relationships we've had before, coming out of things we believe about ourselves, coming out of things we believe about the person who's doing all that weird stuff. So owning the fact that we create our experience is the first sort of principle that she uses to build her 7 steps upon. Now listen carefully. You can take notes if you want. Nobody's looking. I'll post them on the website. Okay, the first one is preparing yourself for love. Going on Plenty of Fish. I should have said POF to see how many people nodded, and then I would have known, right? Plenty of Fish is a dating site that people go on to find partners. But before you go on there, she's saying you got to figure out who you are. You have to prepare yourself for love. That love comes through you, not to you. And so it's not going to just walk in the room. You have to do that work of creating some kind of conduit from your experience through you so that you're actually open to love. So preparing for love is the first one. Completing the past is the second one. And those are those stories, those beliefs, those archetypes you've been wandering around in. All of that stuff that you need to get a handle on and perhaps finish those things. Unfinished stories in our lives just wander around, eclipsing anything we want to do at almost any moment, because they jump in and save the day with the way we always did it, or the way you always reacted, or the thing you're always going to say next. And completing that story allows you to break that process. Transforming your love identity core beliefs, activating your magnetic power. I don't think that's a wardrobe thing. Becoming the one yourself, because you have to be somebody else's the one before they're going to be the one for you, or at least at the same time. Aligning your love destiny, I'm not sure what the word destiny means there, and manifesting your soulmate. That's going to happen somehow. I wouldn't say you actually manifest it, but then I didn't take the course. The reality is, though, that Catherine Woodward Thomas has hundreds and thousands of people taking this course, because I believe she meets absolutely every one of those things. She captures our attention immediately by telling us something that, oh, I never thought of it that way before. She nails down how relevant it is to these people's lives, because everybody's looking for the one. And so, I am too. I'm just like that, archetypally, I'm looking for the one. So anybody who can relate to that is immediately captivated by what it is she has to offer. In the course, it's not just that you listen in on a telephone or something for 7 weeks. There are DVDs she'll send you. She has other thinkers and writers and relationship who are online with it as well. They offer support. They offer one-on-one. There's all kinds of things that are going to help you in this process. So your confidence is high going in. She tells you stories of people who have already been through this process and all the love that they now have, and the wonderful things, not just that they're doing in their coupledom, but that they're doing in the world to change the world, because each of them is now able to offer the most of who they are. And then she pretty much guarantees satisfaction at the end of it. So the story of trying to find the one is a compelling story that Catherine Woodward Thomas has offered, and I can send you the email link if you're interested in it. And I'm not really kidding. It might be really right up somebody's alley. But what if that's not the thing we're looking for? What if we're not looking for the one? What if we're confident and comfortable in our being alone, or in the relationship we're in, because we've already found the one and we've been building on that for, a year or 5 years or 10 years or 20 or 50? And so that Catherine Woodward Thomas's stuff isn't really interesting to us. It's not relevant, so we're not into it. If you were to take like just a few minutes and think, okay, if there was a course that ended up in my email box that would exactly hit what it was I needed, what would that be? What would it be? You don't need to share that. But I think that there are a lot of people that would end up writing down something about finding more meaning in my life, something about finding peace, or finding a way to a more positive future. But as the reading suggested to us, it's not finding something that's hidden behind a pew or, outside in a tree or in another country or another relationship. You're not going to find it there. It's something that comes from within. It's something that we create. So maybe the course should be on creating a meaningful life or creating a good life for myself. The question, what is the good life, has been around for thousands and thousands of years. We've been debating it probably since we were able to have a significant conversation. And we'll continue to debate it because people have different contexts, they have different interests, they have different things that they value, different things that they like. So we'll constantly have that conversation about what creates a good life. Marietta McCarty, whose book that I mentioned earlier, the 10 Ways That Philosophy Could Save Your Life, talks about her engagement with her students and with people around her, from children to adults, about what a good life is. And this is where you can bring the quote up. And one of her students said, "Good living for me means having the time to actually think and make my ideas coherent instead of feeling forced to react on impulse quickly and not very intelligently to everything in my life." So if we could provide a course that allowed people that helped them move through, if that showed up in my email box, I might go, "Woo, now that is a course for me." But when I thought about it, that actually describes church. It actually offers us what we get in this place, or says that that's the good life if we're able to accomplish this. The time to sit down, push away the things that aren't really important, focus on the things that have meaning, that matter in our lives, that are important, to give ourselves the time to think through them and process them a little more deeply, so that the next time we're confronted with that issue, or someone who's talking about it, or a relationship in our lives that we haven't been dealing with quite so well, that few minutes that we've spent thinking about it might actually help us relate differently, respond differently, be different in that setting. The fact that we give that time and we try to bring our thoughts together, I think that that's a really significant and important part about creating the good life. And I think that many who come here regularly would argue that this is a part of what creates their good life. You'll remember last February, I think it was, seems a long time ago, but last February we gathered in a congregational meeting and we talked about a vision for the congregation and what we might be going forward, and how we might evolve. There's not a single creature in the world that could possibly predict what it's going to evolve into. It's a trial and error thing that nature does to nature. And so we can't with any confidence say, well, humans are going to evolve into this, or the next evolution of this kind of bird is going to look like that. We can't do that unless we're playing with the genetics ourselves. But organizations have a capacity to cast into the future choice about how they evolve. And I think we're at a really important time for church and for communities like this that do that create that possibility for the good life. I think we're at an important point in their time and in their evolution. Because I think that this branch of it has got to either get lobbed off or grow a new sprout. I don't think that, gathering together on Sunday mornings is not a high priority in a lot of people's lives. And taking time out of their schedule to support and be engaged in something that predominantly gathers together on a Sunday morning is not a high priority in their lives. But what could it be? What could it look like? Since last February, there's been a very fervent group of people who have been gathering sometimes every 2 weeks and often mostly every 3 weeks to figure that out, to work on that, what we might look like into the future, when this isn't the primary form of our coming together, but that emphasizes that the good life is still a significant and important part of community, of the world outside. That reflecting on our choices, that taking the time to consider our place within community, considering our impact on the world around us, that all of that has to happen, and how that might happen in community, in group, within individual relationships, within ourselves, how we can plant that strongly and firmly into the future. I think that's an incredible task that we're undertaking. I think it's a task that many congregations are not looking at, and I think it's something so boldly new that it calls us, out of us, some of our best thinking and some of our greatest opportunities lie before us. Over the next few weeks, I'm switching the perspectives topic to focus in on the theme of our fund development program. Can you give me the next one? Yes. The theme is because it matters. Because it matters. What we're doing matters. Because West Hill matters. Because life matters. Because you matter. Because we matter. Because the world matters. Because justice matters, and compassion and love and hope and that weaving together that we do each week. All those things matter. And so over the course of the next few weeks, I'm going to talk about what it is that matters to us and why it matters, so that we can bring ourselves down in a very solid formation and plant ourselves on the road that we believe is the right one for us. We know it's going to be interesting. It may not be what we planned. It may not be what we promise you when we bring it to you, but it will be interesting. And the possibility that it might take us forward and plant within this world and in this community conversations, opportunities, places where people can do the work of pursuing a good life. I think that work is worthy, and I think it's time that we got at it. So I look forward to having those discussions with you. And when this screen goes down and I sit down, some questions will come up, and I want you to think about what matters to you. And I want you to bring that over these next few weeks so we can engage that fully as we go through this process of identifying what West Hill may yet evolve to be and take with it the whole of Christianity. A big dream, but I think we can do it. Thank you.